Enzo. Oh, this is probably too long for a voice note.
Hey Claire, I know. Save it for the podcast.
Your space for an unfiltered and candid conversation.
Skip the small talk and dive in deep.
Hey, he's Enzo.
And she's Claire.
And this is Too Long for a Voice Note.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of your favorite podcast in the whole World Wide Web. Too long for a voice note.
Too long for a voice note. So,
how are we? How are the vibes?
Good.
How everything? How summer? How life?
Very good.
Yeah.
I was wondering if to start this
Claire?
episode, Enzo, you could tell us what is one meal that you've had recently that you have loved, whether you have cooked it yourself or you've been out for dinner somewhere or lunch. What has it been? Something summary, maybe. Thinking.
Actually.
Yeah. Oh, my hair went on the mic. Anyway,
Ooh.
it's fine.
Ooh. I went to Poland recently, and I went with my cousin, and we went to this it's called Milk Bar. So there's this traditional kind of like bars in. It's not like a bar. It's a place you go to eat, but it's very like Polish traditional place when you get like real traditional. I said traditional 4 times already.
Okay.
Polish food, and you have like the beetroot soups, and you have all their things, right? But Polish people are really famous for pierogi, right?
Yes.
But I ordered some pierogis. They were pierogi with like cheese and
chives?
Spinach.
Oh, spinach.
So they were kind of green outside.
Okay.
And I think pierogis are nice, but
They're
it's not
little dumplings, right?
Kind of like dumplings. I wouldn't eat them every single day. They're nice, but these pierogis, they were really, really good. Like the taste of the cheese with kind of like the spinach, and they were green outside. I don't know. They were really, really,
Sounds delicious.
really tasty. And it's kind of like, I think every single time I go to Poland, I've been twice, but being in different cities in Poland, I think I eat really good there. I think like the produce and what they use is really fresh always.
Okay, nice.
So I think, and also in this trip, we went to this restaurant that was like kind of like a modern fusion with Polish. It's like kind of like modern Polish food, let's say. And I had like a beetroot soup that was incredibly good. It's like so good and so fresh and
so
like healthy and different flavor. I don't know. I love to try like local food. So that would be
that
like
sounds great.
my European
You'll
experience.
have to drop the name of the restaurant if any of our
I will.
listeners are
It's
going
a really
to Poland.
really nice like a milk bar. As
Where
they
was
call
it in Warsaw?
It's
That
in
you're
Warsaw,
Warsaw.
Really cool city, by the way. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. Well, we have a few updates before we crack on with the topic.
Updates, Claire?
First of all, we have a couple of new members of our team. The first new member is Jenny. Jenny from the block.
Please claps. Jenny from the block.
She is our new
She's
plant.
literally from Aldi.
And
the block. It's actually the block of Aldi.
Exactly, the block of
literally
Aldi.
the block.
And she's very beautiful. So she'll be joining us. I'm curious to see
we love the previous one. She didn't have a name, but I think she's a bit like shy. I think camera was too much for her.
Exactly.
Like,
Jenny's born
Jenny's
to the camera.
from the block.
So she's ready.
Yeah.
And another exciting member, we have a social media assistant on the team. Her name is Briola.
Yay.
Hello, Briola, if you're
Welcome,
watching.
Briola.
Welcome to the team.
It's really good to have someone new on the team.
It's really, really good.
Injecting fresh and new energy. She's really doing like a great things for social. So
definitely.
we're really excited to have her on the
and
team.
you can check out her reels on our social media.
Yeah,
so welcome,
she's
Briola,
been helping us
and
hopefully
thank
for a
you.
long time. She's gonna be with us.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Give her love. Drop her a message on the latest reels. Like,
exactly.
You go, Briola.
Yeah,
Good
you
luck.
go, girl.
Good luck with them.
With that being said, I think it's time for my topic. So my topic this week, this is something that I think is definitely a theme for me personally this year. Okay. But I think that this is something that I've seen popping up quite a lot in other people's lives, quite a lot on social media. I want to talk about boundaries. And so it's like, oh no.
Right, oh God. Right.
So I want to talk about boundaries because we haven't actually spoken about boundaries on the podcast.
Yeah, it's true. We have spoken about so much, but no boundaries.
So many things around it.
Boundaries, but
this
not that specific.
topic, I want to go in deep. I want to go in deep, into depth about boundaries. So I'm going to get the laptop and we're going to unpack this.
Let's unpack.
What is the definition of boundaries? Boundaries are the behavioural expectations and limits that a person maintains in relationships to preserve their mental health and respect the feelings of others. Good boundaries, which can apply to loved ones, friends, co-workers and family members, form the bedrock of healthy relationships, instituting a common comfort level concerning different activities and conversational topics. By establishing consensual terms on which to build and conduct relationships, boundary setting is both a form of self-care and a way of showing your care for others.
Interesting.
How do you feel your relationship with boundaries is
yeah.
in your own life?
Well, that's interesting, honestly. I think it's something like, I feel like I don't think about it actively all the time, but I think I do feel, I would like to believe that I am good with them. I mean, for me, it's really important. I think for everyone it should be important because it's kind of like, it sets some, I don't know if it rules is a word, but it's kind of like your own rules, respect others, like your rules like in front of others and others in front of you, and how communication should be, and how and what's allowed and what's not allowed, and the interactions that you have, I feel, right? I think it's definitely something really, it's not easy to do, but I feel like maybe if you're consistent with your actions, it's maybe a bit easier to have boundaries because you acting in certain type of ways, so people know what to expect. You know, people know what
they can expect from you.
Yeah, from
kind
you.
of thing.
I feel when
that's interesting.
I feel when people are really difficult to read, it's very difficult to have boundaries as well because you don't know where to stand. That's the first thing comes to mind.
What do you mean? I don't think I understand.
Like, I don't understand. I don't understand what you're saying. Explain yourself. I think so. I feel like boundaries is something that also should come a bit naturally in a relationship. I think it's a bit personally awkward when you need to sit and say what your boundaries are. I know sometimes necessary, but I think if both parts of the friendship or the relationship are like clear enough on who they are and how they are, I think it should be easier to spot the other person's boundaries. I may assume that, but I think like maybe because of the type of friends I gravitate to, the type of situations I tend to be.
So you've never had to set a boundary with a friend?
Yes, but I do feel maybe normally, or maybe I don't set enough boundaries.
I was going to say.
Or maybe the people I choose to spend more time with are people that naturally I kind of like build boundaries with.
Or you think they're respecting your boundaries?
As well.
Okay.
Because maybe I feel, because that's what I was saying before, I think I'm very clear in my way of I act, and I think I try to be consistent in my...
Okay.
You're like, absolutely no. I think I try to be consistent the way I am, so I think people should... They will think and they know what my boundaries are, but maybe it's something I'm assuming as well. And I assume as well that from others, maybe.
So you kind of are assuming that you're not crossing anyone's boundaries?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm entitled of that.
Yes.
Like, yes.
It's interesting because I definitely do not agree. Okay. And I definitely do not feel the same way. One of the reasons why I was bringing this topic up is because, like I said, like this has been quite a big theme for me this year, which is setting boundaries. And our friend Leah was like, because I was like, oh, what topic should I do? We were talking about it, and she was like, I think you're in like your season of your life of setting boundaries.
Oh, that's
and I was like, oh, that's quite an interesting way to put it. And I actually so agree with her.
Your boundaries era.
Definitely my boundaries era, especially this year where I've had to definitely realize my own boundaries, sit with my own boundaries, understand them, and then set them with people, which is a whole other thing. So I think I have a completely different experience to you, where I have this year, and it's funny because it's like, you know, those things in life where it's kind of like you don't learn that lesson, and life is like, okay, cool, you haven't learned it, another one. Oh, you still haven't learned it, okay, another one. That's been my experience of boundary setting this year.
Do you think that you don't set your or you don't make your boundaries clear? That's
not
what is
at all.
happening?
Not at all. Okay, I think I'm like historically
quite
bad.
Like famously known by not setting my boundaries right.
No, I think I'm not very. I think I haven't been very good at setting boundaries.
Oh, wow.
Actually, but in a specific way. So I can give specific examples of. I think that maybe we said in like other episodes, like I'm, maybe you as well, probably the person that people come to for advice or emotional support. And I believe that I've needed to put boundaries with that, because sometimes when somebody's going through a hard time, obviously you want to be there for them, but you also need to have a boundary, because you can't give them, especially when people don't have boundaries themselves, which is something we can talk about. What I found in my research was that there are different types of boundaries, and I think I'm going to read the different types of boundaries now, but I think what I probably struggle with is emotional boundaries.
All right.
But the 7 types of boundaries are physical boundaries. So obviously protecting your space and your body, not having you have the right not to be touched and all of that. Sexual boundaries.
Yep.
So protect your right to consent, to ask for what you like sexually and to be honest about what you like and don't like. Emotional and mental boundaries. Which is what I think I struggle with. So it's kind of about your own feelings and thoughts and taking on others' feelings and thoughts. Then spiritual or religious boundaries, financial or material boundaries, time boundaries, and non-negotiable boundaries. So they would be something like deal breakers, let's say.
Okay.
So I definitely think that one of my biggest areas to improve is with emotional boundaries. But also reading that, I think something also is financial boundaries. That's something that has definitely come up for me as well.
Explain more. Explain yourself.
About financial?
Both. Explain more about both of them.
Okay, well, so actually, I have been working in therapy. Maybe I'll send this episode to my therapist. Temmie,
gonna be like,
God,
I'm so
Temmie,
proud of
imagine.
her.
There's somebody that I have in my life who I really, really adore this person, but I would say that we have quite blurry boundaries sometimes about what I feel is like appropriate and what we should share and what we shouldn't share. So that's been something that I've been working on through this year because I feel that like not completely comfortable. So Temmie basically gave me a really good piece of advice, and this is about when I say that this person is kind of breaking a boundary, I think that they're oversharing, I would say.
All right.
So sharing information that I don't necessarily need to know, I would say.
Okay.
So Temmie said, my therapist said, what you have to do, and I'm going to go into this a little bit when we give you some tips for you guys to kind of take into, creating boundaries in your own life. But one of the really useful things that she said to me was because I decided what I wanted my boundary to be with this person in my life. And then I told them, and I thought that would be it. No, that's not it when setting a boundary. So I was like, Temmie, I told them this. So it takes a lot because I think if you've got kind of like people pleasing tendencies, as I kind of do, it took a lot of me to say like, listen, I'm just not really comfortable with you sharing this. I thought that would be it. Then that person went on to do exactly the same thing. And Temmie was like, of course, you have to repeat the boundary multiple times
until it becomes a boundary. So
you essentially, it's up to you. It's not it's not enough just to think about the boundary, set the boundary. You need to reinforce the boundary. Because I think people are used to you acting in a certain way, and it takes a lot out of me, I tell you that.
I was thinking, do you think we have boundaries in our friendship?
You and me.
Or they're unsaid boundaries?
I think, sorry, what were you going to say?
No, because and again, going back to at the beginning we were talking about, sometimes I feel, and I know this is not like a rule, it won't apply for everything and not apply for the cases of all people, but I feel like in a lot of times, like when you really respect someone else and you really pay attention to that person and how they are and how they react, out of respect, you start understanding what their boundaries are. And I think for logical sense, for me, you set those boundaries because it's kind of like, I respect you so much and I know you so well that I already automatically by default know what your boundaries are. But maybe I'm saying this because I'm really close to you and we're friends for a long time.
But we understand each other. That's the thing, because I think we're really on the same page. And I think that we've been, I would say, lucky that we haven't really had to I've never had to sit with you and say Enzo, you're crossing a boundary for me, because I think we really understand each other. But I think where I have had to sit with people, especially this year, and not say I'm sitting with you and setting a boundary, but I've had to say like, I don't like it when you do this.
Made me think if that's like these boundary things, maybe because I can be avoidant of confrontation.
I didn't want to say.
So, but I think what I do, and I think it could be a thing, like I really don't try to have friendship with people that I don't understand. Like I feel like I struggle to have close relationships with people that I really don't understand, and I don't try enough.
Okay,
and
that's
I just
very
have them like in a side character situation, I don't know how to explain it, but I think not a side character, that sounds bad. Like, I think I have really close friendships with the people that I organically know what the boundaries are between us. And if I don't manage to have or understand those boundaries, I just cannot get closer to that person, which I think it could be problematic because maybe I am blocking myself to have some friendships just because I don't want to like maybe go deep or set boundaries. So I just think like for me personally, I need to have a complete flow with my relationships. If it's too much of things that I need to work on, I think it just doesn't work for me.
But there must have been a time with someone, maybe me as well, or a partner or something. There must have been a time where you have had to set a boundary. I cannot believe in 34 years.
No, I'm sure. But probably that person is not my life anymore because of that, because I have to set a fucking boundary, you know? You should know better. No, I mean, I don't want to sound entitled of anything, but this has just made me think a lot because I'm trying to think like of my closest friends, if I ever had to sit and talk about a boundary.
But let's not think of it as a boundary.
Let's
think of it as like
limit.
Yeah, a limit, or somebody's crossing a line, or they're doing a behavior. Because boundary is just basically like kind of like a trendy TikTok term. And another reason I wanted to bring this up is because I feel like everybody mentions this at the moment.
You're right.
And I think it's something that like I'm obviously working on, so I'm drawn to it more. But like so many friends are like boundary. They say this boundary, TikTok boundary, this work boundary, this da. So I think this is something which it's a good thing. Not to say that that's not a good thing, but it's basically something that we've always probably had in relationships, but we're just giving it a name, which is boundary. I just don't believe that you've never had to. I'm like, I don't believe you. Where you have not said like, Claire, you're doing something and you're crossing my boundary, which is like good like language to have, but there must have been a time where somebody was.
Write them off. I write those bitches off. Again, for me, I think it's just like this understanding. It has to be there, but that's really like idealistic to have as well. I think a lot of relationships they're not based on magical understanding. It has to have a bit more of like work and like, which I do believe in work, and I just like I do believe, and you know that sitting with my friends or sitting with you and talk through something that happened. But I just know it's just funny about this boundary thing. It's just like I don't know. Like for again, I think maybe I'm just basing these thoughts on my closest friends.
Yeah.
And my closest friends, I don't think they normally would cross a boundary with me.
But what about if one of your friends won't stop talking about one topic? And you really want them to stop talking about this one topic.
I'm just ignoring.
But I think you would. I think this is what you do actually.
Yeah.
I think I noticed that you maybe will do that if maybe you just like ignore.
I just ignore.
But then
probably.
I think you feel bad, and then I think you come back to it. But then I think maybe that's like something that I find you very easy to read.
Yeah.
So I think I know when I'm about to cross a boundary with you. But that's because I have known you for so many years, and I can tell from one word on text that I'm about to piss you off.
Okay.
And so I think then I would draw it in.
Okay.
And
that's interesting.
I think you're probably the same with me. Yeah. Maybe.
Probably. Most likely. Yeah.
But
yeah.
There must have been a time where
I know what you mean.
You know,
maybe in some situations, like actually, like if it's something, I just feel sometimes like unless it's affecting me a lot, I don't think I put enough energy to set a boundary.
That's
maybe
very
because
interesting.
I don't care enough. I don't know. Like this is the thing.
I think one thing that you're very good at is how to phrase it, like being. I think boundaries actually, even though you say you don't really set boundaries, I think you have quite good boundaries naturally, and I think you're quite good at not like being distant, but I think you're quite good at like compartmentalizing almost, like because I think I have the opposite problem is that even with like a friend's problem, I get way too involved to the point where, which I really admire about you, because I think you really care and you're really caring, but you don't take it on because it's like it's not my problem, but you're always there, but you're not feeling it. But I think I really not to say that you don't feel when one of your friends, but you know what I mean, like, but I really get involved, and that's why I need the boundary to be like, we need to stop talking about this. I'm sorry, I can't keep on talking about this, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. It makes me think about like maybe the investment I have or I don't have in some situations because I'm not interested in set a boundary, but that's not really great as well. Like I'm sure a lot of situations they're required to have boundaries to grow as well.
What about the difference between men and women? Do we think there's something there here?
Yeah, most likely as well, because I think men, we tend to be more entitled to our opinions and our things naturally. Not naturally, but socially. I mean, naturally in the sense of like the way we are
Conditioned.
Yeah. And the way that, you know, how we grow up and like how, you know, you whatever, everything that we talk all the time about, like how it's being a man. So I think like men normally, yeah, they're more entitled to it, and I think they feel more entitled to things and they go less deep into things, while women, they tend to do it more, and they feel maybe, I think we had this conversation before, I think for women it's easier to feel guilty.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
even setting a boundary, because you don't want to be complicated, you don't want to be problematic, because men are never problematic unless it's like raping, you know. It has to be extreme to be like, oh, that man is problematic, or has to be like alcoholic. Nothing wrong, I mean, not criticizing any like reality. It's just like, oh, I don't know, he's an alcoholic, he's attacking people, he's being out of the line, maybe that's when it's problematic. But for a women, I think sometimes just by breathing, just by extending your point, it's like, oh my gosh, she's so difficult.
Like a bitch or something.
So I think it's a bit of that, and I'm just thinking about that. Maybe it's part of like me being a man and how I'm conditioned or something like that. I feel more like, oh yeah, whatever. But for you, maybe you need to think more, because you don't want to sound problematic, which is that what you...
I think it's true.
Of being like, oh my gosh, she's so complicated, you know, those type of like messages like we always have socially. Like,
I think this is definitely something that I learned from like our friendship and from having male friends in general. It's something that I really observed. And that is, I observed that men in general don't feel the need, or it seems like they don't feel the need to explain themselves. So if I think I've given this example before, but it always amazes me because I find that very different to my reality. But I think if somebody on our friendship group was like, I want to do something on Sunday, I believe you would be like, no, I can't. Because maybe you just want to watch Netflix. I would be like, no, I can't, because I'm doing this, and I feel like I would need that. But you don't need to. But I feel like women have this thing of, this is why I think boundaries is maybe quite helpful. Everybody needs boundaries. Healthy boundaries are important. Like we saw for healthy relationships to exist. But I think that maybe it's helping women,
I do agree,
to just be a bit more like, actually no. And I think women are also always taught, even when you're not a mother, if that's something that you want for your life, I think you're always conditioned in a way just to always put your own needs second. And that's something that I think men don't necessarily have. So I think when you come 100%. Forward and say, actually, I don't want to meet on Sunday just because I want to be by myself, you just, it's hard to describe it. You're kind of like, and I feel like a lot of women would probably relate to this, but I personally felt like racked with guilt. Because it's like, but I'm a bad friend, I'm selfish, I'm so selfish. And it's like, no, you actually just have a need. And that's something that I always really admire in men, I think, because it's so different to how my experience of being a woman anyway.
I think that's good. And that's also like, I've been learning having female friends, and I think again that's a problem why when men and women they are not friends naturally, because it's like talking straight kind of scenarios, because we are straight, we cannot be friends. That's really problematic, because that's how we need to learn a lot from us. It's like we have this close friendship that I can learn a lot of your experience, and you can learn a lot of my experience, and we can understand things better as well. And this this makes so much sense.
Totally.
And that makes sense why boundaries, they're more useful for you, but you find them
completely.
You find ways. So you use boundaries for us like tool for things that maybe I never even think about it, because for me it's like given that way or something. So that's quite interesting. I was thinking, what do you think are your 3 top boundaries that you use the most lately, or overall, or the ones that you feel that you need to reinforce, because it's kind of like
and they always
come back with different people and different situations?
Definitely. I have 3 examples.
Let's say 3, yeah.
I have
I like 3.
Yeah, exactly. 3. I have a boundary which it's definitely quite a difficult one, but I'm learning, and it's something that I put into practice recently. I even told you I was very proud of myself for doing this. I am not a big fan of like necessarily always, we all talk about other people, we all talk shit about other people, we all gossip, we're like really gossipy as well. when somebody is talking shit about somebody who I really love, I have in the past found it very difficult to say, actually, no, like, I think they're an amazing person, and actually like stand up for themselves. I won't bitch along, but I'll be like, oh yeah, I know what you mean, like, yeah, he's a bit of a pain, or actually now I'm getting better at being like, actually no, like, I don't agree, and I'm actually so proud of myself for that, because I would always leave those interactions and be like, I really wish I stood up for that person. So I think talking about other people, I'm still finding my feet with that, but talking about other people and standing up for other people, that's one boundary that I have, because I'm trying to aim for this, like, I guess, higher version of myself, where I'm not necessarily, we'll talk about people in some degree, but you know what I mean. Exactly. Higher version of myself. Then another one is, I find negativity very draining. So when people are complaining a lot, I definitely am like, no, stop.
Yeah, because you don't
it's a waste of energy.
Thrive in that energy.
I don't thrive in that energy at all. And I think people who are negative can go round and round and round. That's a strong boundary that I'm having.
That's very common as well, especially like in modern life and things like that. I think we all tend sometimes to get into negative things, but I think for our personalities, it's not.
Exactly.
It's not kind of like a place we like to be.
No,
so it's
definitely.
difficult, because I think that's something that I see a lot, like in different people, different situations, like even like sometimes like in professional settings, I think
I completely agree.
The negative thing is like kind of like, it's kind of almost like a pickup line. You're not gonna like a good morning, how I say it, oh so true. You know, it's always like very like, oh, you know, and like this negative energy around. It's like, all right,
I agree,
and it becomes like kind of like a thing that you do automatically, and that's really negative.
I think there's a line, because I was thinking of it in a professional setting, and I think like it can be a bonding thing, because you're like, oh, thank fuck, like I'm not alone in like how bad this is.
You're so right.
But then if you're just going on and like it's kind of this thing, you know, there's this Instagram poet, I think she's called Cleo Wade, and my brother actually shared something of her that always stuck in my mind, and it was about like, it was like, complaints have no magic. I think this is fucking Sagittarius. So Sagittarius. Wow, but it's true. Like, complaints have no magic. Like, there's nothing good that can come from complaining at all. Like, not that you should hold things and be toxic positivity or anything like that. But if you're just going round and round, that's something that is draining for me. Anyway.
I think complaining when ends in complaining doesn't add anything. If it's a complaining to take an action, that would make sort of sense.
The final one would be probably not taking on people's emotional burden, I think, too much, and saying, I really want to support you. This is fucking hard for me, but I really want to support you. I'm not in the place to support you just now because this. That's something I tried really hard to work on with Tammy, my therapist.
I'm really bad at that one, honestly.
You're very supportive.
I'm very supportive, and I think it will be really difficult for me to be like, hey, I'm here with you, but I need space.
Can you think of times where you wish you'd said, oh God, yeah, like I wish I'd said, like, please. I mean, it's a bit difficult because probably you're out of those situations now, but you know, you can probably...
in the back of my mind, and definitely. I think there were situations that I could have like, set a boundary there. And I didn't, because I felt maybe like it wouldn't like... maybe help the person, or maybe like what I will like, feeling like not adding anything. Just I don't know, I feel like it's a bit toxic as well, because sometimes I feel like subtracting yourself is just not adding anything, but actually it's adding something for yourself.
Totally.
And you need to sometimes think like you need to think about your needs as well, like
you really do.
And also, we're not like therapists or doctors or things like that, so sometimes it's like, I love you, but I cannot do anything here. And also, that's really, I think I'll struggle a lot to do.
It's very, very hard. But I think that, once again, I think boundaries, and that's what I've been learning, boundaries are not about cutting somebody off or ending a relationship. It might be ending a relationship, but it's about protecting the relationship. So you can keep going. And I think about conflicts that I've had. If I'd only set a boundary sooner, that conflict wouldn't have happened, for sure. Because why conflicts have happened is because I'm just like, fuck this is too much, I'm not setting my boundaries, so I just do my typical thing of going silent and walking away and withdrawing, because that's my coping mechanism. What could have been helped is me actually saying like no, but it's harder. But I think we're all a work in progress. What boundaries do you have for yourself? What are your top 3 boundaries?
My top 3 boundaries. I think definitely like, one boundary is with my time. I don't like people to mess with my time.
It's true. It's really true. You are.
I feel I respect others' time. You respect my time as well. You know, like, I don't really like people to messing with my time. I'm really organized with that.
True.
That would be one.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the one you say like about negativity, I think it's something which I don't know if it's really, I need to work more in that boundary, because I think I can tend to go quiet or just be like, I'm out of this because I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
You know, or being like, I'm just going to ignore this because I don't have time for this. But I think the negativity one, it's something that I think it's a boundary in my mind, but I need to put more in practice in certain situations and be like, hey, I don't really want to go there, or I don't really want to blah, 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 because it's really like draining. And
Totally.
I think I don't deserve to put myself through that because I don't enjoy that. So
Definitely
that would
not.
be something that I think is my boundary, but I need to work it to make it.
You can test
whatever.
that on me if you want. If I'm being negative,
Okay.
you can be like, you know what, bitch? Stop
Shut
it.
the fuck
Shut
up
the fuck
now.
up.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I will.
But that's a good one.
I will. And a third boundary, I think it would be like, maybe it's a bit related to the first one about my time and my own process, but I do think if I need to share something emotionally or a situation, I do it only when I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's something like, obviously, like, I think my closest friends and closest person, they know this. Someone new probably they won't, but kind of like, I think I need my own time, and when I'm ready to do something or say something, I think that's really like an important boundary to me. I don't like people to cross that.
Yeah,
definitely.
I think you work on your own time for sure.
I work on my own time,
which is a good thing, definitely, because then
think,
you don't have
yeah,
resentment.
I think
you know?
as long as no one else is affected by it, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Now, if this situation includes someone else,
Yeah.
and I'm just thinking about my boundary, that could be problematic, because I think you
True.
need to take
That's
consideration the other person's expectations as well.
Just to kind of end the topic, I wanted to practice so you guys listening can use this in your own life.
Good.
So how to set a boundary. And I'm going to ask
101.
Enzo if we can do a little role play.
Ooh.
So step one.
Who am I? Who am I? What's my name? I want to be Jenny.
We need to think of a Jenny.
And then I come with like a wig. Like,
You be Jenny, I'll be Ben.
Okay. Oh,
Jen and Ben.
We'll
do that.
We'll rock
Step
the situation.
one. Okay, so you need to first of all identify the area where you need to set your personal boundary.
Okay.
So what's our personal boundary going to be?
Okay, so I'm a workaholic.
Okay,
So
you're Jen.
I'm
Ben.
Jen.
Okay,
I'm
you're
a workaholic, and I need to work a lot because I found value in my life by work. So my boundary is you need to respect my time working, which
you
is
need to respect. So I need to respect your time at
working,
work.
which is like 12 hours a day.
Okay, so step two, establishing boundaries that are clear and enforceable. So what do you want from me?
I want you to respect my decisions regarding to work and what I choose to do as a professional.
Okay,
and what you
as a
respect from
professional dancer,
as a
singer,
professional, as a
actress,
singer,
producer,
entrepreneur,
mother.
exactly.
Okay, and what does that look like though for you?
It's like, if I say I have a new project that I'm gonna get 5 million from it, it will take me 4 months, and you will see me only 1 hour a week. You will be like, okay, baby, we will do it. It's your dreams.
Okay, we understand. Step three, communicating your boundaries.
Okay, I will communicate my boundaries by my assistant.
Okay.
No, I will. Okay, wow. Okay, I will communicate my boundaries as, this is really important for me, right? And if I don't have this, I wouldn't be a good person enough to be good for you.
Okay.
So I need this to thrive. And if I thrive, you thrive, and we thrive.
Okay, so that's a communicating the boundary. I'm like, oh my God help Jen. I'm like, and then step four, enforcing your boundaries. So as Ben, I'm going to say, Jen, I don't like it that you work so much.
Okay.
I think that it's affecting our marriage, and I think that you're a workaholic.
Okay. And then how am I going to reply to that?
I don't know, you're Jen.
We're breaking up, basically.
So I think an example
so
of this would be, so how would we
okay.
run through this so for example, so we've identified it, so that your boundary is that you want me you want to be able to work
as I please,
as you
basically.
want, basically.
So I think what I will say is like, maybe we need to find a balance on it, because this is something that's really important to me.
Okay.
And for you, I think it's really important to spend time with me. So maybe also like, you need to find something that's important
else
for you.
Or maybe I can come up with, what I would do is maybe come with a boundary, and I say like, I understand, Jen, that your
like-
work is really important to you, but I would really appreciate it if you were able to keep your working days to 10 hours a day rather than 12. And we have dinner together every
Okay.
day where possible.
Okay.
How does that sound?
It sounds complicated because of a schedule, and I'm filming a movie in Hollywood, so I cannot talk to my director and tell that I need to have dinners with
Jen
Ben
isn't
Affleck.
breaking any boundaries.
Yeah, so, but maybe I should like actually think like if I want to have a relationship with you,
I think that's the boundary.
there's a sacrifice there. So I need to put boundaries in my work.
Yep.
I need to put boundaries with other people.
True.
And then set those also
Exactly.
in like perspective with you, because I guess
Exactly.
everything I do affects you as well.
Totally.
And if you're not willing to, you just need to not have a relationship.
Totally. So that would be it.
That's
That would
really
be an
interesting.
example, right?
It's really interesting to think about it from person. I was just feeling like
It's
J-Lo,
quite
to be
interesting
honest.
from a different point of view. You did
Yeah.
great as J-Lo. Well
Thank you.
done.
Well
How
done.
was it, my Ben Affleck?
It was good.
God help them, to be
hope that
honest.
them-
Literally, like, God bless them.
Yeah. Thank you very much
Well,
for this
great.
topic.
Thank you for the
It made
topic.
me think a lot about my boundaries and how I present myself and how
Okay.
others perceive my boundaries.
I'm going to be noticing if you're like, Claire, no, I'm not ready to talk about this. I'm going to be like,
I
ugh, he's
will.
trying to have
And
a
I will be,
boundary.
thank you for bringing up the topic on the podcast. Now I'm a self-aware bitch. So be ready.
Thank you guys for listening and watching. And see you next week.
next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.